and welcome to Trail Grazers, where we talk about great food to eat on the trail. One of the things that you have options with is if you have a food storage area where you are into preserving food like we are. We also have another channel where we really focus on this. It's called Rose Red Homestead, and I'll start putting the link in these videos if any of you want to check it out. About a year ago, I was using a special piece of scientific equipment. I'm a scientist, and I was using a special piece of scientific equipment to test electric canners to see if they were safe for pressure canning. In that process, I tested 3 canners altogether. I was doing batch after batch of the same food, testing it with 3 iterations, and so I put up lots of quarts of my favorite recipe of meat sauce. Well, it's been almost a year, and we're not going through these as fast as I had thought we might, and I don't want to lose anybody, not anybody, I don't want to lose any of these. And so one of the options that you have is that these are canned and cooked and ready to go, and they are homemade. I can open them now, and we can, I always do a smell check. Oh yes, smells good. We can opt to do a different way of preserving them that will increase the shelf life, and it will get these ready for the trail. I don't like to take jars on the trail for obvious reasons. But what we do love is to take meals packed in Mylar or other ways of doing it, and we'll show you what we do. And remember, these trays each hold about a quart. And so this has mushrooms and meat and peppers in it and tomatoes. It is just a fabulous recipe. Well, if we freeze dry this, not only will it last on the shelf longer, and it won't lose. Freeze drying does not impact the food value as much as some other ways of preserving does. And so this is a good option if we have food that's getting a little bit, and this isn't getting old by any means. This would last 5 years on our shelf or even more. But we're ready to take some of this on the trail, and I don't have any freeze dried. So that's what we're going to do in this video. And then at the end, I'll show you how we pack it up with some other things, and there's a variety of ways that we can do it depending on how you want to eat it when you are on the trail. Okay, this one has a little bit of fat on the top. Our freeze dryer, of course, does not do well with fat. So I'm going to dig just a little bit of that out. Okay. So here we go. We have a lineup of things that we're wanting to freeze dry. So thankfully we have a second set of trays. So pretty much most of the time we will keep one set of trays preparing in our regular freezer, getting frozen, ready to put in Kelvin just the minute that the batch in Kelvin currently has finished. And that's what this is as well. Okay. And I see just a little bit of fat over here too. This isn't going to hurt anything. It impacts shelf life when it has extra fat in it as well. So this is better. I'll tell you, this is the best stuff. It is so good. I actually use the recipe from Bernardin, which is out of Canada. And it is a tested recipe for canning. I'm pretty diligent about sticking to tested recipes. And so this is the Bernardin recipe. So if you choose to do this, if you have a freeze dryer, you can make your own homemade batch. If you're not going to can it ahead of time, you don't need to be worried about a tested recipe. Only if you're going to can it do you need to be worried about safety and botulism and all of that, like we do when we can. But if you're just going to make a batch and then freeze dry it, you can put whatever you want to in it, and no worries about worrying about a tested recipe. So, or you can do it like I did right here and just open up some that you've previously canned if it's getting a little bit to the point where you want to preserve it a different way with a longer shelf life. So we're going to take these out to the regular freezer, freeze them overnight, and then when we are ready to put them into Kelvin, we will bring you out to Kelvin Lab and we'll do that. So we'll see you then. Kelvin is really getting a workout. Just finished one batch last night. It thawed all of the ice overnight, and now first thing this morning we're ready to get started with our meat sauce. So here it is. We just took it out of the freezer, out of the regular freezer. It is frozen solid, and so I'm going to, it's so cold. I'm going to put it right in. Each one of these trays holds 1 quart. So we have a gallon going in. And here is the insulating cushion. A minute ago I was brushing things off the screen and accidentally turned it on. So now we have our choice between pre-frozen and not frozen. And as I have mentioned before, we have tried this both ways with pre-frozen, and we have had much less success when we identify something as pre-frozen. We've also read a bulletin from the company and from others that suggests that the only thing we use the pre-frozen for is probably ice cream. Even if something is pre-frozen, we're going to select not frozen. Load food in freeze dryer, close drain valve. Drain valve is now closed and we're ready to continue. All right, so now it's going into the freezing cycle. It's at 45. It will be dropping down to between 30 and 40 below before it starts its ascent again. And I am guessing, I always guess, sometimes I'm pretty wrong, but this is going to take at least 24 hours. So we will come back out and bring you with us just as soon as these are ready to come out of Kelvin. So see you then. These took just over 24 hours, about 26 hours to completely dehydrate. Now, one of the things that I want to do, since each one of these was a quart, I want to find out by weight about how much a cup is. So I'm just going to use my scale, and I really recommend that everyone has a kitchen scale. And mine is set on grams, which is my preferred setting. So I'm just going to weigh this 1 quart of finished product here. This is just light like a cracker. Okay, 145.5 divided by 4. So that is 36 grams and a little bit more. Let's say 37 grams. Okay, so 37 grams. That is important for me to know because 37 grams of this lightweight Italian meat sauce will reconstitute into 1 cup. So I'm going to write that down in my log so that I know when I'm getting ready to reconstitute this how much I need to weigh out to make whatever it is I'm making. So I'm going to run a little experiment right now while we're packing up the rest of these. So 37 grams. Now I'm going to go ahead and crush this just a little bit so that we can more evenly distribute the contents. I don't want all juice, I don't want all meat and veggies. And so, as usual, I am going to bank these in the 2-quart jars. And then the options that I have are just like we have talked about before. I can leave it in the 2-quart jars until I decide what it is I'm going to use it for. If I'm going to take it as an evening meal on the trail, then I'm going to package it in just a little plastic container. If we are going to package it as a lunch meal for when we are actually out on the trail with our 4-wheelers, so that we'll heat up some water on the trail and pour right into a Mylar bag, then that's how I will pack it, is in a Mylar bag. So I'm going to just put this in here, and I'm going to leave 37 grams of it right here. All right, that is 37 grams right here that is left. So I know that this much of the product is going to make 1 cup of the sauce. So I'm just going to put it right in there. So we're going to try to reconstitute it, see what we get. Now I would like to call your attention to these 3 jars that I have right here. I have done these previously. This is my bank of pasta, but it is fast pasta. And because it's fast pasta, it is going to reconstitute in about the same amount of time that this meat sauce is. And that is what makes it so lovely, that we can pack both the pasta and the sauce into a Mylar bag, pour boiling water in, and the whole thing will reconstitute into a meal. But we're going to try that right now. So I'm going to try this one, fast pasta. I'm sure you're wondering what that means. Well, fast pasta is pasta that I have cooked all the way through and then put out in the freeze dryer and freeze dried it. So this is pre-cooked pasta, and it cooks in about 3 minutes when I have done this to it. So I'm going to add, maybe about a cup of this pasta to my bowl right here. And then get these things out of the way. So we can pretend that this is a Mylar bag. And I am going to put a 1.5 cups. I'll see. I know that it takes 1 cup of water to reconstitute the sauce, but in terms of the pasta, not sure. So we're going to just experiment a little bit. This is hot boiling water. So this is 1 cup. I'm thinking 1.5 cups. Not quite 1.5 cups. And I'm going to put that lid on it to keep it insulated a little bit and set it off to the side, and we will come back and check that in a little while. Meanwhile, we're going to finish. Now, as I have mentioned before, how you package this right now depends on how you're going to use it and how soon. So if it's going to be months before you use this, then bank it in something like this that you can vacuum seal, and then come back and get it when you are ready to actually use it. If you are going to backpack some meals, then pack both of the sauce and some pasta into Mylar, as we have shown before. And I will show that to you again at the end of this video as well. All right, there's one. All right, so if you are doing the banking method like we do, and then you pull these off the shelf only when you're getting ready to go on a trip, and that's when you do your thing, whether it is just putting it in a plastic container like I do if I'm going to be fixing it in my camp kitchen when we're camped someplace, or if we are going to be taking it on our four-wheelers, in the trunk in our four-wheelers, then I'm going to put it in a Mylar bag so it doesn't get away from us. And are you going to do a full meal, or do you just want the sauce? Well, it just absolutely depends on what your preference is. So let's just pretend like we want a single serving of this. So I'm going to do 37 grams again. $37 grams of the sauce, the meat sauce. Now you can use this for spaghetti, you can use it for making lasagna, you can use it for making pizza. I usually carry some fat pita-like breads that I make when we go camping, and then we often will just spread those with this meat sauce and have a little pizza with some of our freeze-dried cheese on the top. Then I'll add about a cup of the noodles, of the pasta, whichever kind you want, to go right in the bag. And then here's what it looks like, both things together. Probably can't see the sauce, but it's in there.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, good. So now, if you're going to be using it within 2 or 3 days, then you don't need any kind of a preservative. You don't need an oxygen absorber. You don't need to vacuum seal it. Simply seal it. Just seal it closed. And that's what we will do here. And there is the nice seal right there. And then I will mark on that. Meat sauce and pasta. And it is ready to go with you wherever you're going to go. So there we have it. Let's check our experiment here to see how we did. Okay. So we had about a cup of the pasta and a cup of the meat sauce, and I got a little too much water in here, so I poured some out really quickly. So this is probably about 3/4 of a cup of water. So I'm going to taste it to be sure everything is done. This has been sitting here about 5 minutes. Hot pasta is completely done. The meat sauce is delicious. And so this is a nice little meal that we can make from our banking this pasta sauce and from having some fast pasta on hand as well. So I hope you found this useful. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you on the trail.